everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mallory, a first-time mom pregnant with a baby boy. So if you are new here, you may not know that I have been doing a pregnancy series since I was 5 weeks pregnant. And as of this filming, I am about 36 weeks pregnant. So it's been a long journey, but it's been amazing, difficult, exhilarating, like just all the emotions. So if you like pregnancy updates, I'd love it if you stuck around and hit the red subscribe button. And if you want to find my pregnancy series, I will have it in the description box below or in the cards up above, so you can easily find that and you can go binge watch because you have like 30 weeks of pregnancy updates to watch. So that should keep you occupied for a while. Also, my due date is January 8th, 2020. So like if you're watching this in the future and I've already had my baby, that was my due date. So it's yet to be seen when he's actually born. You know, you never know. He could come right on time or early or late or whatever. So we'll see, but that is my due date. And this video is going to be a pregnancy Q&A. And this is a video that was suggested to me by one of my commenters, or I don't know if they're subscribed or what, but if you're not, please subscribe. But thank you so much for leaving that comment and suggesting that I do a Q&A video because it's a great idea. So I went to Instagram, and if you're not following me on Instagram, I would encourage you to go and follow me because I do updates in real time there. So go to Warrior Life Wellness on Instagram, and I polled my Instagram audience for questions, and I got 5 great questions from my followers, and so I'm going to expound on those today. So let's just jump in. I will be reading the handle of the person and reading their question and then my answer. The first question is actually from my sister-in-law, so thank you, Sydney. Sid2313. She asks, when you told people you were preggers, what was your most favorite reaction and by whom? And I have to say that my favorite reaction was from Mark. And it was such a special moment. When I took my pregnancy test, I didn't tell him that I was taking it because I thought, like, once again, it was gonna be negative, but then it wasn't. I was totally in shock, so emotional, and he was sitting on the couch, and I walked around to the couch, and like, I was kind of hyperventilating, and he thought like I hurt myself in the bathroom or something. But I come around and I have the tiny like cheapy pregnancy test from Amazon, you know, those tiny little things, and I have it in my hand and I'm like shaking and my voice is shaking and I'm like about to cry, and then I like full on cried. Like ugly, like I've never ugly cried really ever in my life until that day. What was it? April 27th? It was in end of April. So yeah, I totally ugly cried, but I went around the couch and I'm shaking and I'm like, I'm pregnant. And I kind of just like fell into him on the couch, and he like put my arm around me and put his arm around me. And you know, I showed him, I was like, there's 2 lines. Like I've never seen 2 lines before, ever. Like I don't even know how many tests I've ever taken, but it was a lot, and I'd never seen a second line. You think you see second lines, but then you realize that all of those, like the line eyes that you have, that's what they call it when you think you see a line, but there's actually not a line. Then when you see a real line, a real second line, you're like, that's what it's supposed to look like. And he was just beaming and just so thrilled. And he has a different, like when I get excited about something, I like show emotion and I'm like very bubbly and all of that. When he's excited about something, he's totally not like that. He's more quiet, but like smiles a lot, and just, you can just see it like seeping out of him. He was just smiling, beaming, and said, oh, this, you know, it's so wonderful. It's so good. And I'm like crying at this point. I'm like, I know, I'm crying because it's really good. And it was just such a sweet moment. His reaction was so like calm, but just so thrilled at the same time. And another thing that he did just was so wonderful is like, before we did anything else, like before we called our parents or anything, he was like, let's pray for this baby and for this pregnancy. And it was such a, I think that's what makes me emotional, because it was such a special thing for him to do, and just a really great way to start the pregnancy out. Like, is the moment we knew that there was life inside me, that we prayed over the baby and that everything would go well, and that we would like be good parents and everything. So I'll never forget it. I wish I had a video, but I'll always have it in my mind. So thank you, Sydney, for asking that question, because yeah, it was Mark's reaction that was the most special and the one that is most vibrant in my mind to this day. Okay, the next question is from SJHBRG. Don't know how to say that. So she says, what are your most embarrassing symptoms? Have you had increased flatulence? So yes, I have had increased flatulence. I'm kind of a gassy person by nature, just TMI. I don't know. Why am I saying this? But yes, I have had increased gas. Not all the time, but there have been times where I get really bloated and I get painful gas like I've never had before. And it'll be like I can tell it's in my stomach, and it usually happens at night, and it will keep me up. It has driven me to the point of tears before. It's that bad, and nothing works. The last time I had it though, my mom suggested activated charcoal, and that worked. So if it happens again, I will definitely be going straight to the activated charcoal. As far as like embarrassing things go, I guess I would have to say that gagging when I pick up dog poop is pretty embarrassing. I would be super embarrassed if somebody saw, like, I admit that it happens, but I would be really embarrassed if somebody saw me gagging or like dry heaving as I'm picking up dog poop, because that definitely has happened on many occasions before. It is not fun. It's really gross. I don't know. That's just something I don't want other people to see, because I don't want them to be like worried about me. Like, are you okay? So yeah, I'd be really embarrassed if that happened. Good question. All right, the next one is from sincerely.s_. She asks, what's something that's completely different than you thought it would be? And what was the most surprising thing you realized after getting pregnant with baby? So something that's completely different than I thought it would be is how abnormal this pregnancy journey has been. Like, how many people move across the ocean during their third trimester? How many people are living in a hotel when they're like a month out from their due date? And we may be here for 1 or 2 more weeks, like how many people are doing that? Just, it's been, at this point, most people in their pregnancy are setting up the nursery, or the nursery's done, their car seat is installed in the car, their hospital bags are packed, the diaper bag's packed, all the baby clothes are washed, or they're at least working on that. And I, like, just the other day, just a couple of days ago, I finally started packing my hospital bag, because I was having some like Braxton Hicks contractions, like more than I've ever had. And so that was making me nervous. And I was like, I need to pack my bag, give myself peace of mind that if it's go time, I can grab it. We only just got baby stuff in the past 2 weeks because of our baby showers. And yeah, so I guess that's been like the thing that's been most different, is that this pregnancy has been different than like the average. So, and it's been because of moving from Germany. And then I think the most surprising thing to me about pregnancy has been how tired I was in the first trimester, and just the level of fatigue. I kind of expected a little bit of morning sickness, like my mom had that, and most women have some kind of morning sickness, but I didn't understand the extent to which fatigue just like weighs you down. The best way to describe it, like if you've never been pregnant before, the fatigue that comes with early pregnancy is the same type of fatigue that I get when I'm jet lagged, like especially if I'm going east. My body does not do well with that at all. It takes me a long time to recover. It's that same kind of tiredness, and it's like you're constantly jet lagged for weeks and months. Or if you've ever worked a night shift, it's that kind of fatigue when you're getting used to the night shift. And I have worked night shift. I had it as a nursing student in my preceptorship at the very end of my schooling. And I asked for a night shift. What was I thinking? I thought, I'm a night owl, I can handle it. But it's really, really hard on your body, and you are really, really tired. Like those, at least the first 4 to 5 shifts before your body kind of gets acclimated to being up all night. It's that kind of tired, and that's that kind of fatigue, and you're fighting it in that kind of way, and it's just so draining. All right, the next question is from JB542, and I love this because she asks about infertility, and that is really important to me because that's how our journeys start. Like, that's part of our journey. That's a huge part of it. So she asks, during your season of infertility, what helped you to keep trusting God and his plan? Great question. Overall, I knew that God had our best interest in mind, that he hadn't abandoned us, that he had some kind of wonderful thing in store that either included children or didn't include children. And I think part of that, like part of thinking about his plan for us, was acknowledging the fact that possibly we weren't called to have children, you know, or at least not called to have biological children. Everyone going through infertility has to acknowledge that at some point, because there is a small, you know, there are people that just never will have kids. And I didn't know if that was going to be us, right? And so I think acknowledging that, as scary as it feels, is really important to like keeping the whole picture in mind, because you never know what God has in store. So you kind of have to acknowledge like all the possibilities. So overall, like that's the spiritual side. And then practically speaking, like as far as concrete things that I could do, because trusting in God's plan is not just like saying, I trust God and then I don't do my part. I have to do my part in his plan, right? So practically speaking, what helped me was going through naprotechnology treatment. I could do a whole video on napro, and I really should, but naprotechnology is the reason why I am pregnant. I ended up having endometriosis, like silent endometriosis basically. But I had it in 3 places in my pelvic cavity, 2 on my pelvic cavity and then one on my ovaries. And after I had that procedure, that surgery done to remove it, I got pregnant the second cycle later after almost 2 years of trying to get pregnant. I truly consider my naprotechnology doctor to be God's instrument in helping us achieve pregnancy. And then also the other thing that helped me practically was sharing our story. I started talking about it on social media, especially on Instagram, and I really found a supportive tribe there. I never had like the guts to come on here onto YouTube and do it, but really on Instagram, I just surrounded myself virtually with other people who were going through the same journey, and especially those using naprotechnology, because that's where our values are. And that really, really helped. And like, I was able to see purpose, like God's purpose for this journey was to like reach out and help other people, not to like to help myself through helping other people and like empathizing with them, if that makes sense. So those are like, that's like the spiritual and like the practical side of how I just kept trusting. And I definitely didn't do it perfect all the time. I mean, I had plenty of times where I was like, this feels like it's never going to happen, and I feel like I'm never going to get pregnant. And my husband actually was the one who really kept saying like, well, there's always next month. There's always next month. He was definitely a big part of that too, and just keeping the hope that it would one day happen for us. So great question. That's just so good. Thank you so much for asking that. All right. And then the last one is from Morgan.Roby.Evans. And all she said was progesterone. So it's not really a question, but I would love to expound on this and just kind of talk about progesterone for a little bit and really kind of nerd out, because I'm a nurse and I love medical stuff and I love stuff with to do with fertility. So let's talk about progesterone. So progesterone is the progestation hormone. So basically that means your body needs enough progesterone in order to sustain a baby. Progesterone is the hormone that is produced in your cycle after you ovulate. So progesterone is not being produced before ovulation or during ovulation, but then after your body releases that egg, then your body starts producing progesterone just in case you become pregnant that cycle. And then if you don't become pregnant, then the lining of your uterus sheds and that's your period. The problem that some people run into with progesterone is that their body, for whatever reason, there's many reasons, but their body doesn't produce adequate amounts of progesterone, or maybe the level of progesterone is okay, but then it drops too soon, and then you get like really bad PMS for a long time before you actually get your period. That's kind of what was happening to me, is my progesterone was dropping a little too early. It wasn't like terribly low, but it was dropping a little too early. If you're struggling with miscarriage, if you've had like preterm labor or infant loss, or if you're having trouble getting pregnant in the first place, whether it's primary infertility, so like you've never been pregnant before, or secondary infertility, which is where you've had like a successful pregnancy and birth and then you can't get pregnant again. If you're dealing with any of those things, it's worth asking your doctor about your progesterone levels, because there are things that you can do to up your progesterone levels and make it more likely that you can get pregnant or sustain a baby. We think about estrogen as being like the woman hormone, but that's just part of the puzzle, and progesterone is so important. You know, if you have low progesterone, that, like I mentioned about like it dropping too early, that can contribute to PMS, to really bad PMS. And that's what I had. I would get PMS for like up to 9 days before my period and just feel horrible. And that's not normal, you guys. If you're having PMS for that long, you need to take care, like there's an issue. So I don't know why this person, like the reason why this person just put progesterone, but if you're seeing this video and you're the one that wrote it, if you're having issues with infertility or miscarriage or infant loss or preterm labor, because if your placenta doesn't produce enough progesterone in pregnancy, then that can also cause preterm labor and infant loss. So if you're struggling with that, I would highly recommend looking into naprotechnology. There's doctors all over the country. Most are OBGYNs, but there are a few that are nurse practitioners and PAs, but most are OBs, and they can really help you. Like I said, naprotechnology is the reason why I'm pregnant. So I'm a huge fan. I am not getting paid to say this. I don't benefit in any way from promoting naprotechnology. It's just, it works. It truly works, and it helps you get healthier in addition to helping your body become and stay pregnant. So I just love it so much. So anyway, thank you for putting that out there so I could expound on it, because I love talking about that kind of stuff. Anyway, that was the last question on this video. So this was super fun to do. Thank you guys to all of you who submitted questions. At first I was like, oh, 5 questions. I hope I have enough to talk about, but this video is like 20 minutes long, so I had plenty to talk about. If you guys have more questions, like if you're on YouTube and watching this and you're like, oh, I didn't know she was doing a Q&A, I can do a second Q&A if you guys want. I was also thinking about asking Mark to do like a pregnancy chat Q&A thing. So if you guys have more questions, feel free to leave them down below and I might do a second Q&A video. All right, you guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And in the meantime, take care, everybody. See you next time.